Hey friends, so welcome back to DBC Inc. Facebook Live. This is your free PD Thursday night party with the crew. We have recently switched these up. I know we used to have these on Thursday mornings, but we know that most of you are back in session or you're going to be going back to session. And this is for teachers, it's for educators, it's for administrators. And we want to serve you. So the best way to serve you was to do this in the evening. So we have moved our party to the evening. Welcome, Lisa. Hey, Lisa. To the evening to accommodate you, and we're super excited that you're here and you're joining us. Remember, every single comment over in the comment section throughout the whole entire show is entered to win a free book. Not only are we offering free PD in the evenings for about 20-30 minutes on Thursdays, but we are sending out free books, and we love being able to help teachers all around to better serve their learners. So please do comment, say things that you love, say things that you have questions about, anything. All things go. So we have a special guest on the show, and I would love to introduce her. I'm super excited. She is the author of Boredom Busters. She's an educator. She's a mom. She has survived a week of this interesting fall semester. So I'm excited to hear her journey, and I'm excited for her to be able to share some wonderful tips and tricks that she's learned, because she's kind of living in the future for us that haven't started school yet. So Katie Powell, thank you so much for joining us. Please do a formal intro, but you are just amazing, and we're so excited that you're here today.
Well, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to come on. Yeah, I'm a week into teaching 6th grade hybrid reading and ELA instruction. So this has been an adventure, to say the least.
You are amazing, and we're excited to learn more about your first week. I mean, you have survived the first week, right. So you are in the hybrid model. Tell us a little bit what that looks like, sounds like, feels like, and then maybe we could dive into some lesson ideas, some activities that you did. But at first, just give us like an overview for any of us who hasn't started school yet.
Yeah, so our students had the option of choosing full-time e-learning if they needed to, maybe for a health need in their own household. So we have in our district, I think like 127 students have gone full-time e-learning. It's not a massive number, especially once we announced we were doing hybrid instead of full-time in-person. It seemed to kind of satisfy some of the health concerns that were still out there. We divided our 6th through 12 student body in half by the alphabet. So 6th through 12th graders attend every other day in person, and then the opposite day they attend virtually using Google Meet. And then our kindergarten through 5th graders are still attending full-time in person. And some changes happened to make those class sizes a little bit smaller. So I went from having a scheduled 25 to 27 student class list to my smallest class is now 6 people in person. And my largest is, I think, 15 people in person. So I have the full 6 feet or more of distance between desks now, which I would not have had before. We even were able to carve out almost like a stage space at the front of our classrooms where we can stand more than 6 feet from our students when we're delivering instruction. So we can even safely unmask according to our state guidelines when we're up front teaching our students, which has been really nice. So my instruction looks like delivering in-person instruction and virtual instruction at the same time. So I'm teaching the students occupying the desks and their little faces on the Google Meet at the same time every day. And I will tell you, it gets a little hairy. So we've learned a lot, even just on the tech front. Like, we have these beautiful monitors at the front of our room that our computers run through, but they don't have a webcam or a microphone. So we are setting up our Chromebooks to use the Google Meet, and we turn it around to face our screen. And we project the screen for then all of the students. But then when we go to take attendance or answer an email, we go back to our desktop and sit down and do that. So I am running 3 devices every time to minimize the amount of contacts our students have. They stay put in a classroom, and we as teachers rotate to the different classrooms now. So that means very, very, very quickly between classes, we log out of every device, wipe every surface down, run to the next classroom with our little teacher cart that our whole world is on, and then log back into a brand new set of devices, say hi to the little faces waiting for us on Google Meets, get attendance, which has been crazy because you have to mark whether they're in person or virtual, and absent or tardy, and maybe they're quarantined. And then we start instruction. And bouncing back and forth between in-person, hey, Mrs. Powell, and virtual, hey, Mrs. Powell, has been interesting. But we're getting there. We have the kind of this mantra going on our team where each day has been just a little smoother than the one before. And we caught ourselves yesterday saying, we can almost see how it's going to work. Like, we're at the point where we're starting to see the rhythm click in. We don't have it all figured out yet, but we can see it. So yeah, I'm still here. I still have a smile on my face. I'm not asleep on the couch tonight. It's my first night to make it past dinner without falling asleep on the couch. So we consider these wins. We're making it.
Wow. That's just, there's so many things to think about, you know, really. And I appreciate you like living in the future for us, honestly.
Right.
And for all of them in the comments too, please do keep the comments coming. If you have questions for Katie, she has survived her first week of hybrid model. So you just heard some interesting things, but one of the pieces that I love about you and I love about your optimism and your realness, like, I love it that you keep it real too, especially reading your book. I'm like, oh, she's my people, you know. You just say like, hey, this didn't really work. And this really but that you said, you know, I could almost see how this is actually going to work. And I think that is the case anytime we are cannonballing in on something new, you know, and anytime we are taking a risk like this, there is this uncertainty. Yeah, but then it seems like you and your team have come to this place of acceptance. Like, okay,
right.
This is our reality. Whether or not we want it, it doesn't really matter. This is our reality. How are we going to make it work? We're going to sprint to the next classroom. We're going to log out of all these 3 devices. We're going to take this attendance. And so I love that about you, Katie.
Well, you know, we realize that this is what it takes to get education to work right now. There is no such thing as a perfect model. And no matter what a district decides, it's going to require sacrifice of some kind on our part as educators, on families, on students. It is. So for our community, this is the best way to get students in school with their teachers to some extent, but to keep it safe. And I will tell you, I had not quite anxiety, but I was definitely very aware of all of the risks before we got started. But now that I'm living it and my students are so spread out and we do have their contact groups minimized so small, and, you know, our masking practices, no single student has pushed back against being masked. No parent that has been in our building has pushed back against being masked. We wear our masks. We found what kinds are comfortable for us. We wear the lanyards around the neck so we don't lose them midday. You know, I found that some brands, when I go to breathe, I like suck them into my mouth and I'm like, ooh, no, I don't want that one anymore. But we're making it work because this is what it's going to take to try to make life work for us and for our students and their families. And so everybody is on board together to do what it's going to take. And we realize things could change any moment. You know, teachers are known for being flexible. I've joked that we went from, you know, beginner's yoga to Cirque du Soleil, but, you know, we're making it because we are genuinely all in this together. And I will tell you, the students and families have been so patient. It has been wonderful to just see. I mean, those poor kids, the first day of school, my e-learners already had their Chromebooks and had their, you know, Google Classroom codes. They're in waiting for me. And my in-class kids are like still getting their Chromebooks and they're like all dead. And then our Wi-Fi was like working for half of them. And so my little e-learners are sitting there on Google Meet, like, first day of school. I was like, crickets. There was nothing happening, but they were amazingly patient and they have been every single day. It has been fantastic on that front.
Oh my gosh. That just gives me so much hope. I don't know if you out there listening, I know we have several watchers in the house just talking about appreciating your mindset and everybody just being on board together, but your story gives me hope. And it also reminds me, Katie, that, you know, as educators, we just make it happen. And it doesn't matter how scared we are. Like, even if somebody has to push us in the water, if we just jump ourselves, we we make it happen. We're going to swim. We're going to make it happen. And I love that about you. And I love that about your mindset. And, you know, in Boredom Busters, the book that you wrote, the ideas in there are just so practical, and it's so wonderful to be able to get kids engaged. I feel like the book was written, of course, when we were face to face. We got to have a lot of face to face time, but I know that this practice is so ingrained in you. And so I'm curious to know, maybe if you wanted to share a little bit about, you know, your first week of lessons, like kind of what that looked like, sound like, felt like. And then maybe if you're to the place of applying Boredom Busters in the virtual blended setting, you know, maybe just enlighten us.
Sure. Well, I will tell you, you know, people who know me and my work and my activities know that really my wheelhouse is physical engagement. I love to get students up and moving and out of their desks. And of all the things I'm able to do as an educator right now, that is one thing I'm not allowed to do. They have to be in their safe little desk, and they can't touch another human being. And we're even supposed to limit like using paper and, you know, like tangible things that could be touched and contaminated. So it means I have to almost fight against some of my instincts and preferences as a teacher. And to a certain extent, there is a sacrifice of what we know could be developmentally appropriate or best practice just in the name of keeping everybody safe right now. But that just means we have to up the other kinds of engagement. So, you know, novelty is still highly engaging. I'm still using a lot of SEL practices in my classroom. When do we need to wake the nervous systems up? When do we need to calm the nervous systems down? And the students love it. They've been super responsive to brain breaks that we can do while they're, you know, behind their desks. Today, I showed them the interlude dance. If anyone remembers the one that was super popular on college campuses like 9 years ago, it is the goofiest thing in the world, but we could stand behind our desks and do it. And I'm old, so I ran out of breath. And, you know, a bus driver drove by and was like, what? So it was awesome. But lesson planning has, some things that have worked for me has been, one, using technology well, even for my in-person instruction, since half of my students are joining virtually every day. So even though it's not straight virtual ed, if I plan my lesson almost as if it is, then all students can equally access it. So I'm using Pear Deck, putting my slides up there and making them super interactive for the students. Pear Deck has been an awesome service to work with. I've used them for years, and they've been really responsive to teachers' needs through all of the weird things we've gone through over the last several months. So that has been a really helpful resource for me. And I'm chunking my lesson. I have students for a 2-hour double block. So I even broke my lesson plan template up into little boxes to prevent myself from doing too much at any one time. So I'm breaking it into little pieces. We don't have passing periods anymore because students can't be in the hallway. So we had to plan, like, basically when would they developmentally need to get up and move? And we know their max is maybe if we're pushing at 30 minutes. So we're building in brain breaks, opportunities for them to stand up. We're scheduling bathroom visits so that there are not too many kids in the hallway at any one time. And so far, some of those things are working pretty well. I love my favorite, interactive quiz services. So far, we've used the Battle Royale mode of Book It. So the people who like, Kahoot and quizzes and Gimkit, Look It has a battle royale where they go head to head, and it's a lot like, Fortnite battle royale kind of thing. So the students have loved that. We've been using our quizzes, which is great. And services like that let my students in person and virtually join equally, which is super beneficial. And when it comes to Busters, usually I start my school year. We do musical desks right off the bat, usually the second day of school. We do Hungry Hippos the first day of school. We do paper airplanes the first day of school. And I opened my past lesson plans and was like, well, I can't use any of this. I usually do a break into 6th grade activity where they've got their UV flashlights and they're trying to figure out, learn about our, procedures by finding these clues around the room. Couldn't do that. I had to throw everything out, basically. But landing on some of my Buster activities that work, we've used a lot right now of the alphabet soup. I was able to use that the first day of school. So I gave them a letter and said, all right, pick a term that starts with this letter that, tells me about your first day of school. And we landed on the letter M, and my co-teacher is Mrs. McCormick, and she teaches math. So a bunch of them were like, Mrs. McCormick teaches math. And that was, honestly, as adorable as that is, it matters because they know which teacher teaches which subject. And your first year of middle school, that's a big deal. And your parents are like, hey, you're failing social studies. Have you talked to your teacher? And the kid's like, I don't know which one that is yet. So the fact that they knew that Mrs. McCormick teaches math, hey, that was our win for the day. So we've used that twice so far. Junk drawer is on deck to go next, now that they know how to use a letter to identify or to describe how, like, our lesson or how they're feeling about something. The next is to do that with an image. And so far those have worked. I did my best to put together a resource of all the variations of busters that work virtually or socially distanced, and I put those together on the website because, man, I feel like a good chunk of my book is like, let's get up and move and touch things. We can't do that right now. So I wanted to be able to say, okay, so we can't get up and move and touch things, but we can still engage kids with novelty and curiosity. So here's how we're going to try it and see what works. So there's a huge list. There's a couple dozen busters that hold true even with these restrictions. And I just put them together on the website.
That's Katie, what is that? Let's tell them your website again, and I'll put it up on the screen as well.
Sure. teachbeyondthedesk.com. And then even if you just go to the homepage, I made a great big banner that says, looking for socially distant busters, click here. And it takes you to the post in the blog. I'm not a web designer, so there's just a great big button, and it's big and colorful.
I love it. I love it. And I think it's so true. People right now, as a publisher, I mean, we're just selling books, we're putting out books. And I'm noticing what people are wanting and needing is just like, what can I use right now?
So our brain doesn't hold anything else. I mean, we really are getting through one day at a time. So something philosophical that we might be able to apply in 18 months, we just don't have the capacity for that right now. We might in a few months, but not yet.
I agree. And I think that's just where everyone is right now. And I just, my heart goes out to teachers in the field right now. You guys, the administration, all of you, and the community too. So speaking of that, I know you gave us some great ideas for Boredom Busters. I don't want to hold us on here forever, but you're a parent, and a lot of us in this in the chat tonight are parents too. So how are you navigating the whole parent role and teacher role? And tell us a little bit about that.
It's been interesting. So because our elementary students still attend full-time in person, my youngest son goes to school every day, and he comes in with me and catches the bus at my school. My older son attends every other day. My husband works from home right now. Their employers don't want them in the office. So he largely works out of our house. And on Monday, I was doing professional development for a school, and it was my son's e-learning day. And I'm supposed to do this 4-hour virtual PD, and my husband's working from home, and he has nothing but coach voice, and he's a social worker, and our house is an open floor plan. So he's like, I don't know, a few yards that direction from me, taking very sensitive phone calls while my son is trying to do math class on Google Meet, and I'm trying to talk to teachers in Louisiana about planning and feedback in this new COVID reality. It's a bit of a circus. There's a lot of apologizing in advance. So I put together a slide at the beginning of that presentation and said, these are my advanced apologies. So I will tell you, I have 2 cats that believe they belong on anything I'm doing. One has climbed into my lap already. I have a son who's doing e-learning, and it was his second day of e-learning, I think, when we were doing that. So, I mean, there was all this anxiety over trying to get to class on time virtually and all of this. And we make it work a little bit. I joked at the end of the day today, my younger son got off the bus, gave me a hug, came into the classroom, and I'm standing in the hallway talking to some teachers. And my older son came down the hallway, and I said, I forgot he was at school today. I'm not used to this schedule yet. I forgot it was his day. So I'm really glad. I mean, it takes me forever to get out of my classroom anyway at the end of the day. I'm not one of those people who can leave when my scheduled hours are over. So thankfully I hadn't left him at school, but I mean, it could have happened because I totally forgot he was on site that day. And then our new, how do you do this reality where I was texting all of my colleagues, how do we handle this? My youngest son has the sniffles. And now everyone's thing is, when is it the stay home for 10 days sniffles? And when is it, that ragweed is growing along every field in our county sniffles? So
Yes.
no one knows. We are figuring this all out as we go. I will tell you, there is no fever, and he has talked very loudly on Fortnite all night. So I think he's fine.
Yes. And it is true. Like, I think every little thing, every sickness that comes through,
Yeah.
and anytime you Google it, every single symptom.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and I even tried to get on the little like symptom checkers. And when you say, are you taking this for you or someone else? I said someone else. And they're like, are they younger than 18? I'm like, yep, younger than 18. And they said, nope, this is for adults. So I like, that's when I'm like texting my colleagues, like, yo, what do we do? He's got the sniffles. Like,
yeah.
is this a stay home for 10 days thing, or do I send the kid to school? And I sincerely don't know what the answer is yet. There's no fever on that head, and he is still talking very loudly. I'm surprised he hasn't disturbed us yet. So I think we're okay for now.
Let's just roll with it. I know it's so hard, and it's so like you said, no one's an expert. And I think as soon as we all accept that, really life is going to get not normal, but just more less anxiety. We are going to have less anxiety if we just accept that we're not going to have this all figured out. And I saw a meme the other day, and it said, at this time I usually have 4 weeks of lessons planned. I'm ready. And the meme said, it was like a little guy, and it said, right now I'm lucky if I have 4 minutes. Like, in 4 minutes everything can change.
Right. And I mean, that's what it is. And I think we as teachers sometimes are maybe mildly control freaks. And so I think this is pushing us a little bit, because we really can't plan everything. We really can't control everything the way we'd like to, the way that makes our little teacher hearts happy. So we really are having to make some peace with the uncertainty and lack of control we have right now.
It's so true. Well, Katie, thank you for sharing your survival of the first week. I wish we could have you on in a couple more weeks again and just kind of talk about how's it looking now. Because we're about to
I probably will have like the Mrs. Frizzle hair going, I mean, it may be kind of fun to do a side-by-side.
It would be fun. We're just doing a screenshot right now, just trying to get in a couple weeks. Like, look at her. Oh God.
You're right.
She's right now. But, thank you for sharing those virtual Boredom Busters. Remember, Katie has the book Boredom Busters, which is fantastic. And it's definitely something you can use in your everyday practice. Somebody tonight is going to win one of these amazing books. I love this book, actually. And so also, if you're a parent, if you are a parent, you're entertaining your family, your kids, Boredom Busters is perfect for getting your family involved, get them up moving. It's perfect for discussion, reflection. I love so many things about this book. But Katie realizes that right now, we can't touch each other, and unfortunately we can't. And I'm such a hugger, it's just killing me to not be able to hug people. But Katie has developed some Boredom Busters for the social distance classroom, and it's at teachbeyondthedesk.com. She said there's a big button. You should be able to find it, or you can go to the blog and you can find it there. But do go check those out. She's applied some of them in her first week. If you are watching this on the replay, be sure and comment and let us know if you try them. I would love to hear about some of you trying them with your students. And Katie, if they want to tag you or let you know how it's going, or maybe how it didn't go so well, and then what they could do a little bit differently, how can they connect with you?
I'm sorry. I think I lost that last little bit of it. My rural internet is struggling just a tiny bit.
You're right. I just said, how can they connect with you if they want to let you know like how it's going, if they're trying some of these virtual Boredom Busters, and then maybe if it didn't work out, they want to get some feedback.
Absolutely. So I'm on Twitter at beyond_the_desk. You can also email me through the website. I am on Instagram at teach_beyond_the_desk, but I haven't the slightest idea really how to use Instagram. So you kind of have to do the reaching out if you're on Instagram, because I won't know how to connect with you. But I do understand Twitter. So that's a good place to get me. And I do have all of my various tags and contact info on the website. So if anyone didn't catch any of that, if they go to the website, it's all there. And there's lots of different ways to get in touch with me. And that is something that's really important to me, is the community of educators standing together, because that is part of what makes our profession really fantastic. And I've been watching the number of new teachers, especially on Twitter, talking about trying to get their feet under them in this profession right now. And I think we have a responsibility to do a good job supporting each other so we don't lose good teachers to the difficult nature of today's circumstances. So anything we can do to stand together, any resources we can share to make that possible, I'd love to be a part of that.
I love that about you, Katie. And that's one of the millions of reasons why we wanted you to be on the show tonight. Just because of your giving nature, because of your optimistic attitude, and also that you've actually gone through some of the waters we haven't had to tread yet. So thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for sharing your heart. Thanks for sharing your passion. And then also just thanks for being real with us, because we are truly better together. We learn from each other's experiences. And I think that's what makes our community, the educational community, so special. And y'all, if you want to check out her book, you totally should. Check out her website, but also you need this book. It's amazing. Like I said, it just brings everything to life. It'll be up in the link above this video after we finish up. And then one of you is going to win a free one. So lucky you. I will let you know tonight before I go to bed. So if you're watching this on the playback, we'll give you a little time to make some of those comments over in the comment section. And one of you is going to win one of these books. And we would love to hear about your reflections as you read it. So thank you so much, Katie. Oh my goodness, so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me on, and good luck to all the educators out there getting ready to start back to school.
Yes, we are in this together, friends. We are in this together. I love how Bradley just summed it up. We're better together for sure.
Right.
So thanks everyone for joining. Remember, every Thursday night we will be having our free PD and book giveaway at 6:30 p.m. We will try to never make it go over 30 minutes so you guys can put your kids to bed and have dinner. So thanks everyone for joining. Have a great evening. Bye, Katie.